the bold and the beautiful. When power collides with desire, Bill Spencer was never one to be outmaneuvered. Ruthless, rich, and commanding, he built Spencer Publications with an iron will and a relentless sense of control. But in a city like Los Angeles, where secrets rot behind polished smiles and every alliance is a powder keg, even titans can fall. And this time, Bill didn't just stumble. He crashed headfirst into a scandal that threatened not only his legacy, but his very identity. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as anything can be in the Spencer family. His son, caught in a fresh mess involving Luna, had pushed Bill to the edge. Determined to protect him, Bill made a decision. He would play along with Luna. Pretend interest, maybe even manipulate her, just long enough to get a read on her intentions and neutralize whatever threat she posed. He thought he had control of the situation. He always believed that. That was his first mistake. Luna, however, wasn't the wide-eyed ingenue she played in public. Beneath the soft voice and practiced vulnerability was a sharp mind and a plan so calculated it would have made Bill proud if he hadn't been the target. She didn't just want access. She wanted leverage. And she knew exactly how to get it. The upgraded mints were her secret weapon. Not candy, not entirely drugs, but something in between. Disguised in the unassuming guise of breath-freshening tablets, they delivered a potent, custom-engineered high, disorientation, euphoria, compliance. All subtle, all fast, and all perfectly timed. Bill took the bait. 1 mint, maybe 2. Just enough to keep up the act, or so he thought. He felt it slowly, his edges blurring, his usual clarity draining away. That was the second mistake, underestimating her. By the time Luna set the camera up, Bill was already deep in it. The room spun like a carousel, his judgment dulled, the lines between right and wrong smeared by chemicals and temptation. She guided the moment expertly. Her every move calculated, every whisper baited. And the camera, hidden in plain sight, captured it all. What began as a private encounter became a ticking bomb. Luna didn't just record the act, she live-streamed it. A discreet platform, shared only with select viewers, most of whom had the means and motive to weaponize such footage. Within hours, the clip made its way into the darker corners of the internet. And in the next 24, it went viral. For a man like Bill, privacy was currency. Reputation was power. And suddenly, he had neither. His name trended across every major platform, his face plastered beside words like scandal, humiliation, exposé. The footage was damning, not just the act itself, but his obvious state, drugged, vulnerable, compromised. It didn't take long before the vulture circled. First came the blackmailers. Anonymous emails, encrypted messages, whispered threats. They didn't want money, at least, not just money. They wanted access, influence, pieces of Spencer Publications. They wanted him neutered, humiliated, cornered. And Bill Spencer, for the first time in decades, had no counter. He locked himself away for days, ignoring calls, refusing press. Inside the walls of his penthouse, the once mighty tycoon sat crumpled, phone in hand, fists clenched. Every second that passed gave the scandal more fuel. Even his most loyal associates hesitated to stand by him. The board was in chaos. Stock wavered. Advertisers fled. But worst of all, his sons, his family, looked at him with something close to pity. Desperation broke through his pride. He had only one option left, Brooke Logan. Brooke had been many things to Bill over the years: lover, confidant, rival. Their history was as tangled as the city they lived in. He had burned bridges with her before, but Brooke always had a strange soft spot for Bill, one born of shared battles and bitter betrayals. She was no fool. She knew his nature, But when he showed up at her door, hollow-eyed and trembling with humiliation, she didn't slam it in his face. She listened. And when he told her the full story, every lurid detail, every miscalculation, she didn't flinch. She absorbed it with the cool calm of a woman who'd seen worse. Her first instinct was disbelief. Luna? Sweet, quiet Luna? But the footage didn't lie. Neither did Bill's shame. And Brooke, who had survived scandals of her own, knew the game better than anyone. This wasn't just about sex. This was about power. Someone wanted Bill dismantled from the inside out. Katie was the second call. That was harder. Bill hadn't spoken to her without tension in months. But Brooke insisted this couldn't be contained without unity. Katie didn't scream when she saw the footage. She didn't even raise her voice. Her silence was worse than any outburst. It was disappointment, deep and final. Still, she agreed to help. For the family. For the empire. Not for Bill. Together, Brooke and Katie launched a counteroffensive. First, they hired a cyber team to scrub the video from major platforms, not to erase it completely. That was impossible. But to bury it, confuse the algorithms, redirect traffic. Then came the PR strategy. Leak a story about Bill being the victim of a targeted seduction and drugging scheme. Frame him not as a predator, but as prey. And it worked, at least, partially. Public sentiment fractured. Some saw through the spin, dismissing it as damage control. Others questioned Luna's motives. And in that gray space, Spencer Publications found breathing room. But the blackmail didn't stop. If anything, it got worse. Whoever was behind Luna, because Bill now understood she wasn't working alone, wasn't just after his money. They wanted his surrender. Every lead Brooke followed turned up half-burned. Fake names. Shell companies. Dead ends. Someone very skilled, very connected, was pulling strings. And Luna? She disappeared. Vanished from the public eye. No interviews. No press. Not even a social media post. It was like she'd been swallowed whole by the city. Rumors swirled. Some said she fled the country. Others whispered she was being protected, by who no one knew. But the damage had already been done. As the weeks passed, Bill tried to rebuild. Meetings resumed. The press frenzy died down. But the incident left scars on the company, on his relationships, and most of all, on him. For once, the man who always had a plan had none. He trusted no one. He slept with the lights on. And in quiet moments, when the world faded away, he played the footage back in his mind, not out of desire, but disbelief. How had it come to this? How had he? A man who once spent the world to his will ended up as a punchline, a target, a victim? There were no easy answers. Only this. Bill Spencer had survived worse. But this wasn't about survival anymore. This was about war. Someone had drawn blood. And Bill would not rest until he returned the favor. Whatever Luna started, he would finish. With or without Brooke. With or without Katie. He would find her. He would find them. And when he did, he wouldn't be the one on his knees. Because there's one rule in Bill Spencer's world: no one humiliates him and walks away clean. But war doesn't begin with guns blazing. It starts in the shadows, with whispers, allies, and traps. Bill didn't waste time with emotion anymore. The humiliation, the betrayal, the shame, it all calcified into something colder: purpose. He cut off distractions. He stopped going to press conferences, ignored the boardroom politics, and left the PR team to handle what was left of his public image. All that mattered now was revenge. Precision. Control. He called Justin Barber. Their relationship had fractured years ago, but Justin still owed him, and more importantly, still had access to the underworld, legal and otherwise. If Luna disappeared, someone helped her. And Justin, ever the tactician, started pulling threads. Bank transfers, burner phones, security footage from weeks past. Piece by piece, the picture formed. Luna hadn't acted alone. She had backers, resources, protection. The deeper they dug, the darker it got. Turns out, Luna had been under the quiet mentorship of a long-forgotten name in LA society, Sheila Carter. Sheila had been laying low after her most recent disappearances, her name buried beneath scandals and hospital records, but she wasn't gone. Just dormant. And she hadn't lost her talent for finding broken girls with dangerous potential. Luna was perfect, underestimated, poised, beautiful, and angry. Sheila found her, fed her story, and trained her in the art of leverage. The livestream scandal? That was just phase 1. Bill's exposure wasn't the end goal, it was the bait. The real target was the power vacuum it would create, and more importantly, the chaos it would leave behind. Sheila wanted back into society, into the power circle. And she planned to use Luna and Bill's collapse to do it. Bill couldn't believe it at first. Sheila? Again? The woman was a cancer. Every time LA thought she was gone for good, she came back with a new face, a new plan, a new mess. But this wasn't just her being vindictive, this was strategic. And that terrified him more than anything else. He doubled security. He pulled his sons close, Wyatt, Liam. He even warned Hope. Sheila wasn't just playing games anymore. She was playing chess. And if he was the king, then everyone around him had just become pawns. Brooke, sensing the storm coming, didn't back away, she leaned in. She began meeting with legal counsel, discreetly assembling a counter-squad of media strategists and crisis managers. She'd seen reputations burned beyond repair, and she wouldn't let that happen to Bill, not while Sheila was involved. Katie, too, stepped in not for Bill, but for Will, for family. And together, the women began to rebuild the fortress. But Bill? He prepared for something else. He started following the money. Luna hadn't taken a dime from him publicly. But someone paid for her escape, and through a series of dummy accounts, he found the source, a luxury safe house, off the books, tied to a known Sheila contact in Mexico. Not a coincidence. He boarded a private jet within the hour. Mexico was chaos disguised as paradise. Corruption thrived behind manicured resorts, and discretion was currency. Bill moved like a ghost, guided by a mix of private intel and pure gut. And one night, in a villa tucked behind high walls and armed guards, he found her. Luna. She was different now. Hardened. Not shocked to see him. "I knew you'd come," she said. No fear. Just contempt. You never could let go of control. They talked for hours. Argued. Accused. She told him how it began. The manipulation, the feeling of being used by his family, by society, by powerful men like him. Sheila hadn't forced her, she'd shown her how to fight back. The mints? Her idea. The live stream? Hers too. And yet, she wasn't proud. She was just tired. Caught in something that spiraled far beyond her control. Bill saw it then. She was a pawn too. A brilliant, willing pawn, but still expendable in Sheila's game. So he made her a deal. Immunity. Escape. A clean slate if she gave up Sheila. Luna hesitated. Loyalty battled survival. But in the end, survival won. She gave him everything. Names, locations, drop points, allies. The web was vast. Sheila had embedded herself deep in LA's financial undercurrent, laundering through charity fronts, rebuilding influence. She wasn't just trying to rise again, she was trying to replace Bill. Piece by piece. with Luna as the public face of a new empire, softer, more palatable, but controlled entirely by Sheila. Bill returned to LA with fire in his veins and a list of targets. He didn't go to the police, he was the law, in his own way. Quietly, systematically, he dismantled Sheila's network. One shell company collapsed. One anonymous donor exposed. One silent partner arrested. Luna went into witness protection under government watch. And Sheila? She vanished. Again. But not before sending a message. A single rose. No note. Just the thorn. Bill hung it in his office, a warning and a trophy. The scandal never truly disappeared, but Bill flipped it. Told his story in his words. The narrative shifted. He had been drugged, exploited. Luna, a victim of greater manipulation. He staged an exclusive interview, sitting beside Brooke and Katie. Not as a playboy. Not as a mogul. As a man. The public? They ate it up. Ratings climbed. Spencer's stock recovered. And though the scars remained, across his reputation, his relationships, and his pride, Bill came out the other side stronger. Sharper. Meaner. Because now he knew, the old games didn't work anymore. In this world, power was no longer about headlines or holding companies. It was about narrative. Control the story, you control the future. And Bill Spencer? He was done being part of anyone else's. He would write the next chapter. In blood, if necessary. Because if Sheila thought she'd won by surviving, she'd made one final, fatal mistake. She left him breathing. And Bill Spencer never forgets.